Wait. Before you spend that old dime, look at the date. Seriously, stop for a second. Take that coin out of your pocket and turn it toward the light. Do you see the year? 1956? If you do, don't put it back with your other change just yet, because today we're taking a very close look at one of those little American coins that most people would probably ignore without thinking twice. A Roosevelt dime. 10 cents, that's it. At least that's what the denomination says. But when you're dealing with old coins, the number printed on the coin isn't always the whole story. And that's exactly why I want you to check this one carefully. Now, before we go any further, let me make something very clear. I'm not saying that every 1956 Roosevelt dime is worth thousands of dollars. And I am definitely not saying that every coin with this date is some kind of instant fortune. Most aren't, but that's actually what makes the hunt interesting, because when you have a coin that's common in ordinary condition, the really exceptional examples can stand out. And sometimes the difference isn't something you're going to notice from 3 feet away. It can be a tiny detail, a tiny mint mark, a sharper strike, a cleaner surface, a stronger reverse, or details on the torch that most people never even think to inspect. So if you've got a 1956 Roosevelt dime nearby, keep it in your hand. We're going to check it together. First, turn the coin to the front. Look at Roosevelt. Don't just glance at him. Actually study the portrait. Look at the hair. Look around the cheek. Look at the lettering. Look at the date. Does everything look soft and worn, or does the coin still have surprisingly sharp detail? Now look at the date again. 1956. That is our starting point. Next, check the mint mark. Depending on the issue, you may see a D, an S, or no mint mark. Don't assume that no mint mark automatically means rare. That's one of the easiest mistakes a new collector can make. A missing mint mark can be completely normal for a particular issue. What matters is knowing exactly what you're looking at. So remember this. Don't see something unusual and immediately call it rare. First, ask yourself, is this actually supposed to look this way? That's how you avoid getting fooled by ordinary characteristics, scratches, or damage. Now turn the dime over, and this is where I really want you to slow down. Look directly at the torch. See those horizontal bands? Take your time. Don't rush. Look at them under good lighting. Are they weak? Are they worn? Are they interrupted? Or do they appear very sharp? That little area can become important when you're looking at a high-grade Roosevelt dime. Collectors can pay close attention to the strength and completeness of the bands. And when a coin combines strong details with exceptional preservation, suddenly you're not looking at the same kind of dime that has been passed through thousands of people's hands. That's the difference condition can make. Think about it. A coin from 1956 has been around for decades. Imagine everything that could have happened to it. Maybe somebody carried it in their pocket every day. Maybe it sat inside a cash register. Maybe it fell onto concrete. Maybe it was thrown into a jar. Maybe a child played with it. Maybe somebody stored it in a collection and never touched it. All of those things leave a history on a coin, and that history can show up as wear, scratches, dents, discoloration, or loss of detail. So when you're checking your 1956 dime, you're not just looking at the date. You're looking at how well that coin survived. Now turn it back to the front. Look at Roosevelt's hair. Are the individual details still visible? Look at the lettering. Are the edges crisp? Look at the date. Are the numbers strong? Now tilt the coin slowly. Watch the light move across the surface. Do you see lots of tiny scratches? Do you see dull areas? Does the surface look heavily worn? Or does it look surprisingly clean? If it looks extremely clean, don't get too excited yet. A clean-looking coin isn't automatically rare, and shiny doesn't automatically mean valuable. That's another huge mistake people make. They see an old coin shining under a light and immediately think they've discovered a rare proof. Not necessarily. A proof coin has specific characteristics, and you need to identify it properly. So don't make the decision based on shine alone. Look at the entire coin. Now let's talk about something else that gets people excited. Those huge numbers you sometimes see in coin videos. You may have seen a headline about a Roosevelt dime supposedly being worth tens of thousands of dollars. Maybe you've even seen a number like $83,000 connected to a 1956 dime. That sounds unbelievable. And that's exactly why the headline gets your attention. But here's what you need to understand. A huge reported value doesn't mean every coin with the same date is worth that amount. Not even close. When an exceptional coin reaches a huge price, there is usually a reason. It could be an extraordinary grade. It could be a rare designation. It could be a proof with exceptional contrast. It could be a recognized error or variety. It could be an extremely well-preserved example. So instead of asking, is my 1956 dime worth $83,000? Ask a much smarter question. What does my coin have that an ordinary 1956 dime doesn't have? That question can actually help you find something. Now let's imagine you've got two 1956 Roosevelt dimes sitting on a table. They look almost identical at first. Same date, same denomination, same basic design. But you pick up the first one, it's heavily circulated. The portrait is worn, the lettering has softened, the reverse is scratched, the torch bands are weak. Now you pick up the second one. Suddenly, everything looks different. The portrait is sharp, the lettering is crisp, the surfaces are clean, the reverse design has strong detail, and those torch bands look much more complete. Both coins say 1956, but they're not equally interesting to a collector. That's why the date is only the beginning. Now, here's something I want you to remember throughout this entire video. If you think your coin might be valuable, do not clean it. I'm going to say that again. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't scrub it. Don't use toothpaste. Don't use vinegar. Don't use baking soda. Don't use metal polish. And please don't scratch the surface trying to remove dirt. You might think you're making the coin look better, but you could actually destroy the original surface. And once that happens, you can't simply put the original surface back. So if the coin looks dirty, leave it alone. If it looks dark, leave it alone. If it has unusual toning, leave it alone until you know what you're dealing with. Protect first, investigate second. Now let's go back to that mint mark. Look closely. If you see a D, you're looking at a Denver issue. If you see an S, you're looking at a San Francisco issue. If there's no mint mark, you may have a Philadelphia issue. But again, don't decide value based only on that letter. The mint mark helps identify the coin. Condition helps tell us how well it survived. The strike tells us how strongly the design was produced. And the specific characteristics of the coin tell us whether it deserves additional attention. That's the complete picture. Now, here's a fun experiment you can do at home. Take your 1956 dime, then find another Roosevelt dime from a different year. Put them side by side. Look at the reverse. Compare the torch, compare the lettering, compare the leaves, compare the overall sharpness. Now tilt both coins under the same light. You'll start noticing differences you probably never paid attention to before. That's how you train your eye. You don't become a better collector by memorizing giant price numbers. You become a better collector by learning what normal looks like. Because once you understand normal, unusual becomes much easier to spot. Now let's imagine you find a 1956 dime inside an old family collection. Maybe it belonged to a parent, maybe a grandparent, maybe someone simply saved coins because they looked old. You pick it up, you see the date, 1956. You flip it over, you notice the torch looks unusually sharp. You turn it back, the surface is remarkably clean. Suddenly you think, wait a minute, that is the moment I want you to pay attention to. Not because you've proven it's valuable, you haven't, but because you've found a reason to investigate. And that's the whole point of this hobby, finding the reason to look closer. Now, if you believe you found an exceptional example, take clear photographs. Take one of the front, one of the reverse, one of the mint mark, and close-up pictures of anything unusual. Don't use blurry pictures. Don't use a dark room. Give yourself the best chance of actually seeing the details. And if the coin still looks special, consider having it examined by a qualified coin professional or grading service. Authentication matters, especially when you're talking about a coin that could potentially have serious collector value. Because the internet is full of people looking at one photograph and declaring a coin worth thousands of dollars. That's not how professional coin evaluation works. A real assessment takes the actual coin into account. Now let's talk about proof coins for a moment. The 1956 Roosevelt dime was also produced in proof format. A proof coin was specially struck for collectors. Some proof examples can have strong reflective fields and contrasting design elements. But again, don't assume that a shiny coin is automatically proof. Look carefully, compare it with known examples, and if you're unsure, get a second opinion. The same rule applies to supposed errors. You might notice something that looks doubled. Maybe a letter looks strange. Maybe the edge looks unusual. Maybe something around the date seems different. Don't immediately announce that you've discovered a major mint error. First determine whether the feature is actually part of the manufacturing process or simply damage. Coins spend decades being handled. They get scratched, they get hit, they get rubbed against other coins. They get damaged by machines. They get exposed to chemicals, and all of those things can create features that look exciting at first glance. So slow down. Compare. Verify. That's the smart approach. Now let's talk about full bands. This is one of those terms that can make a Roosevelt dime collector stop and look twice. The bands across the torch can be important when grading the coin. A very sharply struck example with complete, well-defined bands can be much more desirable than an otherwise similar coin where those details are weak. That's why I keep bringing you back to that torch, because it's easy to ignore. It's small. It's on the reverse. Most people flip the coin over and barely look before putting it away. But collectors don't do that. They study the reverse, they look at the details, they look at the strike, they look at the condition, and sometimes that's where the interesting part is hiding. So take your coin. Look at the torch. Can you clearly see the horizontal bands? Now look at the rest of the design. Are the leaves sharply defined? Are the letters crisp? Does the rim look strong? Are there signs of heavy wear? If the answer is that everything looks unusually sharp, keep going. Now look at the edge. A lot of people forget the edge. Don't check for anything unusual. But remember, unusual doesn't automatically mean valuable. Again, identify before you celebrate. Now let's go back to the famous price claims. When you see an $83,000 headline, it's tempting to think, I have the same year, so I have the same coin. But that's like seeing a rare sports car sell for a fortune and assuming every car with the same model name is worth that amount. The details matter, the exact condition matters, the exact variety matters, the exact designation matters, and the market at the time of sale matters. That's why a responsible coin video should never tell you that every under 1956 dime is worth a giant amount. Instead, the real message should be, check your coin. Maybe you find nothing unusual. Fine, maybe you find a nice old silver dime. That's still cool. Maybe you find an excellent collector example. Now you've got something interesting. Maybe you discover a genuine variety. Even better, but you need to inspect first. Now imagine you're sitting at your kitchen table. You've got a jar of old coins in front of you. You pull out one dime, then another, then another. Most are modern, nothing exciting. Then you see an older Roosevelt dime. You turn it over. 1956. You stop. You put the other coins aside. Now it's just you and that little dime. You look at the front. You look at the reverse. You check the mint mark. You look at the torch. And suddenly, coin collecting doesn't feel boring anymore. It feels like a treasure hunt because you don't know what you're going to find. That's the fun. You could spend hours checking coins and find nothing spectacular. And then one day, one coin makes you stop. One coin looks different. One coin has a detail you weren't expecting. And that's enough to keep you searching. So if you've got a 1956 Roosevelt dime, don't judge it in 1 second. Give it 30 seconds. Give it a minute. Give it a proper inspection. You might learn something. Now let's do our checklist. Date, 1956. Mint mark, check. It. Condition, look carefully. Front details, check Roosevelt's hair and lettering. Reverse, study the torch bands, look closely. Surface, check for scratches, cleaning, or damage. Strike, are the details strong? Possible error, compare before you decide. Proof, don't assume based on shine alone. And finally, professional verification if something genuinely stands out. That's your treasure hunt. Now, here's the part I really want you to remember. You don't need to become an expert overnight. You don't need to know every coin ever made. Start with one. Start with that 1956 dime. Learn what it is. Learn what normal examples look like. Then you'll slowly start understanding why one coin gets ignored, while another one gets pulled out of circulation and placed into a collection. That's how this hobby works. And that's why I don't want you looking only at price. I want you looking at the coin. Because once you understand the coin, the price becomes much easier to understand. Now let's say your coin is heavily circulated. Roosevelt's hair is worn. The lettering is soft. There are scratches everywhere. The torch bands are weak. That's probably not the kind of coin that will create a huge collector story. And that's okay. It is still an old American silver dime. It still has history. But now let's say you have another example. The coin has strong detail. The surfaces are remarkably clean. The strike is sharp. The torch bands are clearly defined. And the coin has the right characteristics for a high-grade example. Now, you've got a reason to investigate. That's the difference. Not the date alone. Not the headline alone. The entire coin. Now imagine you find a 1956 Roosevelt dime with something genuinely unusual. You take pictures. You compare it. You look at trusted references. You still can't figure it out. That's when you should stop guessing and get another opinion. And if someone tells you, yeah, that's definitely worth $20,000, don't celebrate yet. Ask them why. What is the exact variety? What grade? What designation? What comparable sales? What makes it different? Those questions protect you. Because serious collecting is based on identification and evidence, not excitement alone. Now, if you've made it this far, take another look at your coin. Seriously, don't just listen to the video. Actually check it. Look at the date, 1956. Look at the mint mark. Turn it over. Look at the torch. Look at the bands. Now tilt it. Watch the surface. Does the coin look worn? Does it look sharp? Does something seem unusual? If yes, put it aside. That's all you need to do right now. You don't need to sell it. You don't need to clean it. You don't need to make a decision. Just protect it and investigate, because the worst thing you can do with a potentially collectible coin is rush. Now think about how many old coins are sitting unnoticed in American homes. Coin jars, desk drawers, old collections, estate boxes, family envelopes, coins saved decades ago. Some are ordinary, some are interesting, and a small number can be genuinely special, but they all have one thing in common. Somebody has to notice them. That's why checking matters. So the next time you receive an old dime as change, don't automatically throw it into your pocket. Look at it. Maybe you'll see 1956. Maybe another year. But make that habit. Look, check, compare, protect. That's how you start thinking like a collector, and that's how a simple 10-cent piece can become a mystery worth investigating. Now, one last warning before we finish. If you're watching this because you saw a headline promising an $83,000 Roosevelt dime, don't let that headline make you rush. The number is not the important part. Your kin is the important part. What mint? What condition? What strike? What details? What designation? What variety? What evidence? Those are the questions that matter. Because one 1956 dime could be worth a modest amount, while an exceptional example from the same year could attract serious collector attention. Same date, completely different story. And that's what makes American coins so fascinating. So look at that dime one final time. Front, date, mint mark, portrait, lettering, back, torch, bands, leaves, rim, surface, edge. Now put it somewhere safe. If it looks ordinary, you can move on. But if it makes you think, wait, why does this one look different? Don't ignore that feeling. Take pictures, compare it, research it, and get it professionally checked if necessary. Because you never know, that little dime might be nothing more than 10 cents. Or it might be a coin worth keeping in your collection. And the only way you're ever going to know is to stop, turn it over. And look, so do you have a 1956 Roosevelt dime? If you do, check it before you spend it. Because sometimes the coin you've been ignoring for years is the one that finally makes you stop and say, wait a minute, what did I just find?